Welcome back to the channel. Oh, almost there. So, a quick update. Not sure quite where I'm heading now. There's a lot of roadworks up top, so I'm just going to try and find a route and see where I end up. I'll try and head north. But it's difficult because a lot of the passes are being worked on and I don't want to spend hours and hours sitting in the sun waiting for a traffic signal. So let's see where I end up. I will check in later on. Bye. So what I've decided to do is, having now spent 3 days pretty much in the Dolomites, I am now moving off in the direction of Austria. However, because I've studied the maps, there are a couple more passes I can do actually today before I get to the next accommodation, and you will be seeing those along the way. I'm very used to riding solo, so it kind of always makes me smile when I see big groups like this. I'm sure they'll have fun. Yeah, I just don't like the limitations. I like to be able to make my decisions. Like, for instance, I was going to do Bedoy today. I actually did part of it yesterday. Yeah, there's a bit of a story attached to that, but I knew I would be passing again some of it today, heading in the direction that I'm heading in. And if you look at this, I have picked the route deliberately like I normally do, but this looks like the kind of picture that they make puzzles out of. Do you know what I mean? Those kind of landscapes. Yeah, Capril, this was on the way, and I thought, right, okay, I'd already ridden for a little while at this point and needed a drink, so it was a nice place to stop. I actually go into the village. There are certain things about this area that I am noticing. I've had 3 diversions already, 2 roads already closed, which has changed the route a little. I mean, nothing major. I'm still heading in the right direction. But I believe they've also had rockfall in this area, so that may have changed the road situation. However, I'm lucky enough that there are enough roads heading in the direction that I'm now heading, that if I get another road closure, for any reason, there are alternative roads. I wouldn't have to go back on myself too far to pick up another road. It would probably mean another load of mountain passes to get there. But I just have to make sure I'm filled up with petrol. I have had so many conversations at petrol stations. It's almost like you meet the best people at petrol stations, you know? I suppose it's because petrol stations now have everything as well, don't they? You can get drinks and snacks, it's not just petrol. It's a sort of like the moment to store up on everything. So yeah, you're there for a little bit longer, you make the most of it. And as much as I love the mountains, I think it's the combination. I mean, look at that. Ice blue water, the greenery of the trees and the mountains. What a magical combination, look at that. Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous, and an absolute wonderful place to have a stop. Somewhere to get a drink, and just enjoy it, even if it's only for 10 minutes. You know, this won't be a long stop, but now and again you just have to. So, taking a moment also to check the map, I have noticed that there are a few alternative roads, smaller roads. This is still a main road. I prefer the smaller roads, and the smaller the better, as long as they're going in the direction that I want them to and they're safe to ride. I'm going to look for them. And like I said, on the route I did find a couple of very small roads. There's a river that's running along this road. There are more rivers, and the original roads have now, a lot of them have been replaced, purely because the parallel road is either too low, you know, gets flood damage, or too easily influenced, there you can see it as well, too easily influenced by water levels, and obviously it can wash away roads. This is a little bit higher, but it is of course a main road. So I have managed to find a smaller road, and I'm just assuming I'm going to be able to ride the length of it and connect back up with this road. Problem is, and it's the same with all of the roads here, before you know it, you're on a mountain pass again. But what comes up has to go down, and that's generally where all the fun starts. You know, I prefer going down with most of the mountain passes. It's because of the views, the camera views. The views always seem to be better when you're looking down as opposed to looking up, unless you're going to change the camera angle, which I prefer not to do. I mean, this is a great route, but I am still on a main road, and that needs to change. One thing that I would say is very consistent is the unbelievably good quality of the roads. It's been pretty much like this all the way through. And when the roads are this good, and the views, and the weather, I mean, to be honest, the combination is unbelievable that I'm getting at the moment. You don't generally expect this kind of weather in the mountains, ever. But the quality of the roads, and look at this, I mean, you know, even here it's a wide bend, but you can see for miles, you know, you can see anything coming down, so it's a great road system like that. There are very few things I could find here to criticise, really. I mean, perfect road conditions and brilliant weather. And the views just keep giving. Continually. The whole route. Where do you get that? I've never had that. I don't think I ever, anywhere. Not like this. Not with hairpins and views. Not the whole combination. Normally it's a couple. You know, you've got the views and you've got great food, or, you know, the accommodation is really cheap, and the location is excellent, and those kind of combination things. But not this. Not where the riding itself is made 100,000 times better because of the condition of the road. You're not dodging potholes, and where they've repaired the roads, it appears that they have done such a damn good job, you don't notice that there is a difference in the road quality. I mean, obviously now and again you do get the grit thing, you know, that does happen, where there are whole sections of road that aren't paved. But, you know, in general, why do I do this? It's only when you start to have fun and adventures that you're going to encounter that. And all I can say at this point is, yes, I found that little road. And an awesome road it was. And obviously there's absolutely no point in having the rally version of the Ryker, if I can't ride on these kinds of roads. If you'll notice here, my right hand wheel barely made it through that bridge, and it was just actually confirmation that yes, it is a two-way road, this. And as much as I thought at any moment there's going to be a stop and a turn and I should be able to get back onto the main road, it never happened. So I had to turn around and go back about 5 kilometres to get back onto the main road. So as much as it was fun, it wasn't in the slightest bit petrol economic. But again, it was a fantastic little memory. I just love this. I just love that part of the riding. You know, not everybody's going to do that. You know, it's just part of the adventure. I probably won't be here again, maybe for a long time. Maybe never, you know, and to get that kind of riding experience, you just have to do it. And there's nothing wrong with having an adventure, unless you get a flat tyre. But touch wood, I have never had one, and I'm not planning on having one. This was the last of the 3 passes that I actually did on this day. But what an experience. You know, they all have their own characters. I think it's something that after you've ridden a lot of these roads and you think, yeah, it's all pretty much the same after a while, you know, nothing really changes, something comes along and surprises you. I just think that the views, I think it's a view thing, you know, and I know that I have to enjoy these mountains, because this area of the trip, of course, is full of mountains. That was the reason that I came here. It's almost giving me Switzerland vibes when I look at these kind of scenes spread out in front of me. However, I do know that there will be a flatter part of the trip coming up, but sometimes you just have to do that to reach the next destination. I haven't had to do it too much in northern Italy, in fact, virtually not. But there will be areas in front of me now where it won't be so pretty. However, I think I've done enough mountain passes in the last couple of days to get me through the next sort of maybe 48 hours without seeing too many of them. And in the meantime, I am just purely going to enjoy it. You know, spread out in front of you. I always find mountains so majestic. There's something so solid about them. You know, something that's been there forever. You know, it's just been there. There's something sort of almost caveman about it all. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a dragon. I'm drawn to mountains. I'm sure there are more people, especially Dutch people. Dutch people are crazy about winter sport as well. Must be something about living in the lowlands that makes huge amounts of adults want to hurtle towards the mountains in the cold season purely so that they can slide down them. You know? Is that a caveman instinct thing, something that goes back a long way, or is it just a bunch of adults trying to get away with being kids? I don't know, who cares? We all have our hobbies. I just can't imagine being stuck in one place for 2 weeks anymore. You know, the idea of just having the same view for 2 weeks, I couldn't do that. I have to travel between my views, and this is really seriously, this is one of the most ultimate places to do that. You are literally surrounded by nothing but mountains for days, if you want to look at it that way. But that's why I'm here. So far, actually, this has been one of the nicer passes. It's got some crazy bends. And they're very close together, and there are a couple of sections like that, like this, where you literally, it's no more than 100 meters between the hairpins. And I suppose I wasn't really expecting that. Oh my god! Oh. As far as I know, most of this pass, and what a laugh. It's time for a break, you know? You get the feeling you've deserved it. And when I realised what I was looking at around me, it was so gorgeous. I just had to stop and get another drink. I am on holiday after all. I mean, you know, if you don't stop at all, you know, it's not good for you. It's just not good for you. And no, there was no alcohol in it. I am now heading towards the Austrian border. Again, the roads are still great quality, which is what I was expecting. The views are still unbelievable. I mean, look, this is obviously Dolomites. This is still the Dolomite Mountains, where you get kind of the green at the bottom and then the extreme peaks at the top. And Austria, you don't get that so much. It's not so extreme. But this part is the bit where you've got the flat fields and then the mountain goes straight up. And I still have to do some pretty incredible roads before I get to my next destination. Again, 1 minute you're down on river level and the next minute you're up in the mountains again. And, you know, it just continues and continues. It's all beautiful. You know, I would be more than happy with this kind of view any day of the week. I'm just wondering in my head, you know, how many other types of roads there were in this area to perhaps improve this route. I can't think that there could possibly be another route that's better than the one I'm on. Look at this, you know, it's continual. And look at the quality of the roads. They're not full of potholes, and yet we're high enough for these areas to get snow in the winter. And still, the quality of the roads is fantastic. What do they do here that we are not doing in northwestern Europe? You know, what are we doing wrong? How can these roads still be so good? Winkler. That confirms to me that we are in fact now in Austria, although I don't remember going past a Welcome to Austria board or something like that. Maybe there was one. It's probably because I am trying to ride some of the smaller roads and maybe the signposts aren't as obvious everywhere. I don't know. Maybe people don't need them here. They already know where they are. I don't generally. I have no idea until I check maps as to what country I'm in. I've had conversations with people which have been hilarious like that, where they say, well, you know, where are you going tomorrow? And I said, tomorrow? I said, I don't even know where I'm going to end up tonight. And they just like look at me like, huh? Like they've planned all their routes and their accommodations like months in advance. It's all set in concrete. All the bookings have been made. And I've just learned from my very first tour that it's just, for me, it's not a good idea to do that. Just a note here, there is absolutely no shortage of petrol, and I would like you to check the prices there. Prices don't seem to have gone up in this part of the world in the same way that they have in northwestern Europe. I'm not sure how that works. You know, are they closer to where they make it or something? How is that possible? Still, with that in my head, I am now heading towards actually an area not that far. There we go. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I'm not going to try. Not that far actually from the Grossglockner. So yet another road to get there pretty much. This road, if I continue up on the route, which I will be doing tomorrow, I actually go past Linz, and if I was going to do the Grossglockner again, I say it again because I actually did it a couple of weeks ago now, for about the fourth or fifth time, I don't know for sure, I have to check that. Yeah, I wasn't sure about that either with the bikes. Where I come from, you have to give way to stuff coming from the right, and I wasn't actually sure at that point who had the right of way. I just thought, let them go. You know, I'm not in any hurry. I've arrived at the accommodation. And isn't this pretty? Yeah, I seem to have picked a good one again. And apparently it's quite a popular one. I would consider staying here again if I was going to go to the Grossglockner. Absolutely. I think literally we're about an hour away from it here. Absolutely brilliant. And there's a bar across the road. But again, all I can think of right now is food I need to eat. Yeah, just a note really. What I meant about the borders, this is basically, red line here is the Italian-Austrian border. And I'm just the other side of Winklern, or something like that. And so you cross the border there. Barlida, Gasthof Barlida is where I found myself because the food was excellent. Believe me, this whole thing disappeared. Most embarrassingly so. So with a sleepy head, you're never quite sure what you're going to wake up to the next day. But look at the weather again. It's almost too much to imagine that I am getting this weather in Austria with some of the weather that has happened recently. I can't believe my luck. And with the usual conversations about the Ryker and such an unusual vehicle to be travelling on, I set off. I have looked at the weather and it could play a part today. Looking at it now, you cannot imagine that there are reports of horrific rainfall, including hailstorms and thunder and lightning and flash flooding and all sorts of horror stories. Look at it now. How can I imagine those horror stories? Still, I have to keep an eye on it. You know, I don't really want to get caught in the rain. It's always good for the land, of course, you know, it keeps everything green. But I just, you know, it's difficult to imagine after the temperatures that I've had and this kind of weather that I could be confronted by rain today. But look at the rivers, I mean, look how high the water level is. It's quite concerning, really. It must be quite concerning for people in the lower areas, you know, because you know that if it does rain in one area, it's all going to run down to another. But it's so peaceful, you know, you forget how destructive these kind of rivers can be if they run over their banks. Don't really want to think about it too much. However, as you can see here, the weather is already changing a little. It's not doing much for the temperature. It's still really hot, which means it's another excuse to stop for a drink. This place was amazing. And look at that right there. That bench is this bench. I didn't actually sit there because it didn't have a parasol, and it is extremely hot. We're talking at about probably around the 35, 36 degree mark, centigrade, Celsius. But you can see the cloud formations of building already, and they are totally in the direction that I'm heading. This is a different sky to the one that I've been looking at for the last 3 or 4 days. So all I'm hoping now is that I will be able to get to the hotel before it rains. That's all I really am thinking about right now. Is you can feel the humidity in the air. You know, you can see the clouds as well. You can see the difference in the sky. But so long as it's dry and the going is good, I have nothing to worry about. Probably within about an hour or so I will be at the hotel. So I think, to be honest, even if it rains now, I'll have had a great run. You know, the scenery is still great, the road quality is still great, it's still dry, you know. This will be, I think, probably about the 8th day, 7th or 8th day after each other that I haven't had rain. And if it has rained, it's done it at night. I have not had to ride in the rain for at least, it's got to be at least a week. I just want to get to the hotel now. You know, here again the weather looks great, and it's still a beautiful ride. Of course I picked my route, but it does kind of change things when it gets grey. You know, things just totally even disappear. Mountains disappear when it rains here. Not quite sure why that is, if the clouds are really that low, or we are just at a much higher altitude and I'm not used to it. It is a weird thing. You can tell from which direction it's coming. See there, you can see the mountain above the building if you concentrate on that for a second. And that's what happens when it's about to rain. The whole mountain disappears. And didn't I get the timing right for this? Cool. Oh my god. Well, I got her on time, didn't I? With about half an hour to spare. Look at it, it's running rivers. So as I've actually now completed the whole loop, I'm now back in Altmunster. I thought I would just give you this as a kind of rough guide to the route that I've taken. These were the accommodation stops. And basically it kind of gives you an idea of a possibility in just how long approximately it's going to take you. Which is so just an indication, because everybody stops differently. Everybody's machine is going to use petrol at a different rate. You're going to choose your own routes based on your own experience and the places you want to see. It's just really to give you an indication of the route that I took to get me back to Altmunster, which has completed a kind of circle with the Grossglockner. And in connection with weather, I was thankfully given the garage, because you're just not quite sure if you're going to get hail. And the last thing I need is damage right now. So here we go. The journey continues. And again, look at the weather. Thanks for watching. See you next time.